Terry, man, I gotta find the inner Henry today. I've got a very important meeting. Super important meeting.
Ramps, we need to talk about Thierry.
Yeah, but
Okay, Thierry's great. I love Thierry. But what you have to remember is for our audience, there's probably a high percentage that most of them are women because more women learn second languages than men.
So what does that
So
happen?
we need to start using a frame of reference that they are going to understand. I understand. What are they going to understand?
Okay. I don't get it. Women's football.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Not football, Rams.
Dude, I don't get it. I don't get it. I welcome to the show. I don't get it.
Today, we're diving into the power of presence from mindful to magnetic and everything in between. We have a plethora of new features to share with you today.
Like Guess the Idiom, a game show style picture quiz.
We've hit the streets of Milan for Say the Word, challenging non-native speakers with difficult pronunciation words.
Pop culture reference looks more closely at language originating from popular media that has become idiomatic within their own right. This week, we look at Star Trek and Mr. Spock.
Finally, an active listening exercise for you to pay attention to, collocations with the word presence.
We've left a little logo hint for each one, so keep your eyes peeled for when you spot the collocation. Stick around to the end for all the answers.
Ramps, tell me, what's the most awkward introduction you've ever had?
Oof. I'm not sure which one. Maybe when I was a lot younger, a lot of my introductions were pretty awkward. I can't think of one in particular, really. What about you? Is there one in mind that you can think of? I really can't. I mean,
I would say that the most awkward introductions as a generality for me would be being introduced to someone very good looking. I get very nervous around good looking people. Yeah, I would say, generally that's something that I struggle with, especially especially with women, members of the opposite sex. I don't know. I think it's because my own insecurity, probably, but I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Could it be that you feel that way because you're trying to not acknowledge how attractive you think they are?
Possibly.
Maybe trying to hide what you really think?
Possibly, yeah. It may have something to do with the fact that, oh yeah, you're attractive. Oh no, I shouldn't be attracted to you. That's I basically have a wife and family and kids, and then it spirals. It becomes difficult to be objective.
Yeah.
About this is just a new person. Hello. It's like, oh my God, you're attractive. What am I going to do?
Okay. I think it's very much understandable, to be fair.
Don't stare,
Don't make too much eye contact.
Make sure you
trapped.
Don't especially don't flirt. Don't be interesting.
Try your best to be as normal as possible.
Be boring. Be as boring as possible.
Yeah. Look, I think maybe a lot of people can relate to that.
Right.
I'm trying to think about myself in that situation. If I meet,
I know who. If you met a professional footballer, you'd be like, yeah.
Although in my previous life, I worked a lot with models.
Okay.
And some of them were quite famous. And I went on after that job to work with, when I worked in radio, I met a lot of famous people.
I don't have a problem with famous people.
Some of which were very attractive famous people.
Right.
Why did you ask that question? very, very like strong question. Like that's a
Right.
very
Right. Yes. Well,
yeah to
because
start the conversation with.
today we're looking at speaking confidently, even when you are feeling nervous or freaking out inside. I think we all feel awkward at times. Meeting new people is a particular time for feeling awkward, and doing it in another language, it just adds another layer to it, right? So you're already feeling nervous about meeting new people, and then you've got to try and talk to them in a language which isn't your native one. So the idea of nervousness and awkwardness is something that comes up a lot. And I think this is a subject area that relates quite well to presence. So let's jump into it. Let's go in and talk about nerves and the physiological response to nervousness. You know, the feeling you get in the pit of your stomach, how your voice reacts, your body language, this side of things. So when you're feeling nervous, what's the giveaway for you? How does your body respond?
I would say the first thing it would be my heart rate.
Okay.
That's probably the first thing that would go. I'd noticed that my heart starts to beat a lot quicker.
Yeah.
You know, it's gradual, and at some point you just like they must hear it. It's so loud
Right, yeah.
that it must be audible to everyone who's around.
Yeah.
So that would be the first one. The second sign that I'm quite nervous would probably be eye contact.
Okay. In what
Yeah.
sense?
I probably find it very hard to maintain eye contact, which is something that I usually don't struggle with when I'm
okay.
feeling comfortable in a situation. And then it'd be maybe a slight tremble in my voice.
Ooh, tremble. Okay. Can you give an example of that?
I don't know, a little bit uncertainness. Oof. You know, when you feel it as though you're shaking a little bit.
Okay. So,
yeah.
so your vocal cords, like in your voice box, you're feeling it here. Is that what you're saying?
A little bit more vibration than usual, and a vibration that probably isn't very consistent. It's like it goes on and on, like
it's like the teenager voice breaking kind of.
Exactly. Yeah, I would say those are the tells for me.
Okay.
Heart rate, sort of internally. Heart rate, external, difficulty in maintaining eye contact for a long period of time.
Right. Yeah.
And then voice.
Yes.
And then sometimes I do this with my hands. You know.
Okay. So you've got a tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I think this is more me trying to soothe myself rather than me. You know, I don't do it uncontrollably. It's usually very slow sort of actions, repetitive.
Right.
I find sort of a pattern that works, and then I'll just follow that pattern over and over again, and that usually helps to sort of calm me down. What about you? What would you say are your tells?
Number one for me is eye contact. You put it perfectly. It's when you're with someone new, especially when you're nervous around them, being able to maintain eye contact with them for more than a few seconds is intimidating. I find I will very often be furtively glancing around, right? Furtively. That's a nice one, isn't it? It's kind of that what you would expect from a rodent. You know, it's that kind of behavior. So, you know, looking around, looking at everything. And because I'm a very visual person as well. So if I'm in a room full of people and I'm meeting someone new and there's distractions happening all around their head because there are people in the background, it's very easy to be distracted. And you can tell when we're talking that I'm probably slightly distracted and nervous just by watching the rapid movement of my eyes around the room. Searching for someone that I know and feel comfortable around, usually.
What about your voice? What have you noticed about how you use your voice and how you control your voice in these situations?
In those situations when I'm nervous and not entirely comfortable, not myself,
Mhm.
as you know, I'm naturally a lot more soft-spoken person. I'm not very loud when I speak. Often people need to come very close to understand what I'm saying. So in those situations, my voice probably I go even softer.
Okay, softer. So like the quality, the timbre of your voice is softer, or the pitch.
And I would say the volume. The volume is
okay,
much
right.
softer.
So you,
Right.
okay,
The pitch is a little bit lower,
right,
and the pace is a bit slower as well,
right,
because I'm taking my time in between the words. Yep. That's
right.
what I would notice about my voice. That's usually how it affects my voice. And because of that, how I then deal with it. And I would like to ask you the same question is I ask questions.
Right.
Right. Because questions help me to, one, calm down, and then two, helps me to be present. Because the issue with when all of this is happening, it's very simple to lose presence and try to deal with, I'm freaking out, I'm freaking out, I'm freaking out. So when I ask questions, it forces me to almost ignore how nervous and everything I am, because I need to now understand and listen to what the response to the question is. So if there's something unclear, I ask a follow-up question.
Right, right.
That
See,
helps me
I
to come
get
back to
that. I get
presence.
that, and I think, I mean, this is a great conversation technique: is to be curious, to ask lots of questions, and to actively listen to the answer. That also falls into one of your strengths, being an auditory learner, is listening.
Absolutely.
For me, asking questions terrifies me because of not necessarily understanding the answer. So I'm probably, if I was going to ask a question, I'm actually more likely to ask someone to show me something. If I don't understand properly what they're telling me about, I'm going to say, oh, show me a video. How do you do that? Give me some actions, right? Or try and act it out. So I'm like, oh, okay, so that means like cut, or right, whatever it is. I'm going to be trying to use sign language or video or something to get the point across, or to understand what someone's telling me. But I think that the one thing I've noticed in English, when I socialize with people I don't know, or do networking in a professional sense, I have a tendency to start speaking in a lower resonance and start speaking deeper, so I sound like I'm a professional expert. Right. But if you listen to me when I'm in normal conversation, I have a very wide range. I get quite high at times because I'm an excitable person. And so for me, in that first meeting, I know very quickly how comfortable I am with the other person because of where I'm pitching my voice. If I'm feeling a little bit intimidated, I'm going to start talking in my lower voice, so I sound a bit more powerful and a bit more authoritative, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm with someone I'm really comfortable with, I'm going to be I'm going to be speaking quickly and at a higher pitch, and getting excited about things. Isn't that great? That kind of, maybe not that far on the first meeting. It really depends.
What about the different learner types of someone who's reading and writing?
I have a general tip for this kind of thing. It is experiment with your voice. Experiment with your pitch, with your volume, with how you deliver information. Use ChatGPT to give you a variety of situations where you'll be meeting people for the first time, and then practice what you would say in those situations. Practice your greetings, practice from a low pitch and resonance, and practice from a high pitch of resonance, right? And then find somewhere in between that sounds naturally you, and then aim for that. If you understand the levels that your voice can reach, it's much easier to control them in moments where you feel anxious or nervous or overly excited, because that also happens.
So you're saying that understand your voice and start observing your voice and start making note of how you speak depending on the situation that you find yourself in, and then develop that and try to maybe perhaps even use your voice then to calm yourself down. Chris Frost speaks about this, right?
Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The late night radio show voice,
Oh,
he
that's
speaks
good.
a lot about voice and how
Do that again.
late night radio show voice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm there. I'm listening to that show, definitely.
And he speaks
Hi,
quite
how are you
extensively.
all doing this evening? We're here
Well,
for Mellow Madness with me, Liam, and my good buddy Reps.
that is beautiful, because you have that calm tranquilness within your voice. So if you go deeper, it's much more that's accentuated. Chris Forrest has a bit of a deep voice, yes, but it's got a bit of raspiness to it, almost like he's been shouting the entire night.
Or he's been a smoker his whole life or something like that.
Pretty much. Right. Yeah. Well, that's actually a pretty good one.
Mm-hmm.
On voice, some of it appears to be somewhat unconscious, right? Because you were saying earlier on, if you perceive the person to be, if the situation to be intimidating, you tend to go lower, right?
Right.
What I notice about myself is if I'm speaking to a person who in that situation should be the person of authority, so landlord,
police officer,
boss, or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. What happens then is I go high, not low.
Okay.
Yeah. So instead of speaking,
you're reflecting the power dynamic,
basically.
Right.
And I don't think that is very conscious. I was wondering about it. I was thinking about it a couple of, maybe a week or so ago, and trying to observe if this is something that other people do.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of what Amy Cuddy was talking about with body language, in the sense that if someone takes a dominant position, we naturally will take the opposite.
Yeah.
If you look at pictures of people doing power poses, politicians, the person they're speaking to is reflecting less powerful version back to them to say, okay, you're in charge of the conversation.
Yeah.
And so we do it with the voice as well. It's even without thinking about it. One of the most difficult areas in terms of speaking with nerves, public speaking, is challenging, isn't it? People fear public speaking more than death. And so to do it in a second language is even scarier, right? Okay, yeah. Give me.
I love that one. I think you have just created a new metaphor.
Right.
Public speaking, something that scares people more than death.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why do you think that public speaking is scarier than speaking to people one-to-one? Or
whenever you are responsible for presenting something, it is assumed that you are an expert in that thing. That's why you're there presenting that thing.
Okay.
So the room for error is quite tiny.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's an awareness in anyone who's going to be presenting any idea or anything to an audience, that I'm going to be looked at as the person who is well informed about this. And then of course then there's the other factors like, well, will I be able to hold their attention for the 10, 15, half an hour, X amount of time that is required to go through the presentation?
Mm-hmm.
That's the second factor to it. How do I prepare and look like I didn't over prepare
to a point where I'm not being robotic about the whole thing. Last but not least, and this is now almost quoting
Every, if not most clients that
had to do this in English, feeling judged because of pronunciation,
Right.
making a grammar mistake or
Mhm.
word choice mistakes, using the wrong word, saying take as opposed to have in that context.
Right.
where take is a
Collocation
better word.
mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can see, I guess, from a language perspective, we could just maybe generalize it in saying the fear of not being 100% accurate, whether it's in pronunciation, grammar,
Right.
word choice, etc.
I think what I would add to what you've said is all of these things are wrapped up into a nice little package called imposter syndrome, right? They all classify as part of that. Feeling self conscious for making mistakes, feeling like you're not an expert, you're not supposed to be there in front of people, feeling judged. It's all self inflicted as part of imposter syndrome. And I think that this is a universal experience for a lot of people in one way or another, but certainly for language learners. I think this is the last point you made about not being 100% correct, feeling judged for your language, the collocations, the verb conjugations, all of the different parts. And
Mechanics of the language.
right, exactly. And feeling like no one's going to understand what you're going to say. I think this is all very much a big part of the nervousness that can arise from speaking to many people in public, in presentation, in a second language. So, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with what you have said there. What do you think about meetings? Do you think they can be more intimidating than giving speeches or presentations?
Meetings are a little bit less intimidating because
Mhm.
to some level, some form of relationship has been established with some of the people who are there. Whereas maybe if it's just a public speaking, you just simply don't know how many people are in the audience, or maybe you do.
Right.
But you maybe Google them and have their profiles and understand who these people are, and maybe well-respected people within their own industries. And so it could be a little bit intimidating. Oh my God, I'm going to be watched by or listened by this person.
Someone you
Whereas in a
look up
meeting-
to as well.
Yeah, your heroes could be in there.
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
Your
exactly.
career heroes anyway. So no, I would say that a meeting would be far less intimidating. I think it's assumed as well in a meeting that it's a space where we're sharing information. So it's not one person's responsibility to get the train going, Everybody plays their part. Whereas in a presentation, you are one man band for that 10 or 15 minutes. It's all you, baby. All you.
It's all you, baby. Yeah.
It's all you, baby. No,
Yeah.
nobody else. So
Yeah.
What would you say is more intimidating between the two?
Oh, that's difficult because I think depending on the meeting, can be a form of public speaking. It's just a different form.
Yeah, no, certainly.
Both are.
And I think that there's part of me that thinks that you're even more vulnerable in front of people that you already know. If you're presenting in front of a large group of people, maybe you don't ever see any of them again in your life. And so it's just one time, you just get through it, and it doesn't matter what the result is because the chances of having to deal with those people again are small. Whereas in a meeting full of your peers, you have to see these people every day. You have to have this meeting every week. If you're self-conscious and feeling like an imposter, you're going to go through the same process every time, and you're going to potentially start to have some negative emotional behaviors around those meetings. And it's much harder to unblock something like that than the one-off events.
I see what you mean. I see where you're coming from. But I would say maybe it depends as well on how you generally react to feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's an opportunity to, you've established some relationship with some of these people. Here's an opportunity to ask them, hey, how do you think my presentation went? Where did you find that I maybe was missing information, or where did you feel a bit bored? Or you can use that as an opportunity. I get what you're saying. I think it'll depend on how you generally feel about feedback and how you deal with feedback. Me, I like those situations. That one, if you gave me a choice between that presentation and an actual meeting, I'll probably more likely go for a meeting.
Right.
Because then I can ask people afterwards what worked, what didn't work.
The other thing as well in terms of giving presentations to new audiences is that chances are they've never heard you speak before. They've never heard what you have to say. So even if you're presenting the same presentation that you've done 1,000 times, for them it's the first time. And so this is an opportunity to play and have fun, to build your confidence so that it's polished. I think one of the biggest traps in terms of speaking is that often when we've spoken or said something many times, we forget the joy of saying those things, and we start to become monotonous and robotic with the delivery of those words. So I think part of finding your confidence as a speaker, especially if you're having nerves, is to play, is to have fun with what you're doing.
Posture.
Very good. Posture.
Posture. Posture.
Posture. Posture.
Posture.
Commanding.
Okay.
Commanding. Commanding.
Commanding.
Commanding.
Commanding.
Commanding.
Do you have any stories of bad first impressions that either you've made or someone's made on you?
Yeah. I have one, man. One that wasn't.
Can
I'm
you
not proud
share?
of that. Yeah, I'm not proud of that one. Not proud at all. Very awful first impression.
Really?
I think so.
I can see it's still causing you pain. I can see it.
Yeah.
Just the way that your
guess-
voice changed, you're like, oh.
Yeah, I can't believe I said that. I think about it sometimes, and I'm like, that was such an awful thing to say.
What happened?
I maybe, I mean, I'll let you decide how bad it is. For me, it's clearly very bad.
Yeah, it's emotionally
but-
dramatic. Yeah.
It is, man. It is. I'm just like, why did I
Yeah,
say
start a podcast, share your trauma. It's all good.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I was, which is actually, it happened in Italian, and
Okay.
I knew the mom. I knew the mom, and she introduced me to her daughter, and it's equally lovely, and like any proud mom, she's like, oh, isn't she so beautiful? And it's like, yeah, she's beautiful. I'm like, she looks like you, you know. She's like, oh no. I'm like, no, really, she looks like you. She's like, I'm not as beautiful, you know. And then I said, well, to be fair, most people are good looking when they're young, when they're in their 20s. Yeah. So that was my first impression of the daughter, like a real. We had seen each other a couple of times in and around the building.
Sure.
But never actually had a conversation, just a hi. So the first impression, I suppose, was already had, but this is the very first time that we actually kind of spoke with each other.
Right. Okay. First extended conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel crap about it, and I still see them, and they lovely human beings, both of them, the mom and the daughter. But yeah, that is probably one of the worst first impressions for me, was that one. I still regret it, man. Like,
right.
Why did I?
But I mean, how has that affected your relationship with them now? Do you still feel that every time you see them?
No, I don't. I just wonder about it from time to time myself.
Okay.
I'm like, should I apologize? Do they even remember that I said that? You know, because sometimes it's you think it's such a big deal, and then she's just thinking, oh yeah, actually, I thought of it. Yeah, most people are attractive when they're younger, because there is a bit of truth to that, right? That
Right.
people are generally more attractive when they're younger because, I mean, honestly, they're the same. They look exactly the same.
Right.
But then after I said it, I said, okay, maybe may have been and come across as a backhanded compliment because I simultaneously said, yes, your daughter is
But you're
beautiful,
old.
At the same time, I say, well, the only reason why she's beautiful is because she's younger than you. You were beautiful when you were younger. Obviously, now you're not. That's basically that statement could be easily understood as that. So
Yeah.
that was not a
Or
very
misunderstood
proud
as that, to be fair. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, even I thought after I said it, I was like, maybe it wasn't the best thing to say.
Right.
Yeah, but it didn't really affect our relationship. I hope, unless if they secretly dislike me and plotting to do something to me, they've been nothing but nice since.
Okay. Okay. So it obviously wasn't as bad as you thought it was.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't a nice thing to say, though.
Do you think there was probably an amount of forgiveness because you're not a native speaker, so maybe they would have gone, well, maybe he just didn't phrase it right because Italian's not his first language.
Could be, yeah, could be.
So,
but I think I may have said this in English.
Oh, really?
This part of this conversation. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's no mistaking. Okay. I was trying to get you off the hook there, and now you're like, nah,
Dude,
no,
I am definitely on the hook. I'm on the
I'm
hook.
a douche. What can I say? Yeah. Anyway,
what about you? Yeah.
I cannot think of any stories of bad first impressions. I'm quite lucky in the sense that I'm quite good at first impressions. I'm sure I have had some mistakes in the past. I certainly, the thing about doing it in another language for me is that I'm very shy. So I'll generally say hi and then that's it. I'll say hi and smile and then I won't look you in the eyes for the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in English,
more.
English, I'm very good. I've got a round face. I've got a big smile. I get excited about things easily. And so it's very easy to make a good first impression in English. But in Italian, it's more difficult because of the language barrier.
Sounds like you take on the less is more approach in Italian. Like the less I say, the better it is. Right. Some of our clients take that stance in meetings as well in English. Like, how did the meeting go? Oh, Raps, great. What did you say? 0. But I understood everything. That's usually my approach, Raps, in these meetings that are, conducted in English. I use them as listening practice when they try to be slick about not participating.
And now it's time for Spot the Collie-cation.
To what you were saying before, going the less is more kind of route in those situations, right? And just ceasing to be present, basically, right? You're physically there and you're somewhere else mentally. What you could do to help you overcome those situations is set yourself small little challenges.
Right.
Small, simple challenges. Okay, this meeting, I'm going to go in 10, 15 minutes earlier than everyone. If it's in a physical space, I'll try to speak to 1 or 2 people. Get myself warmed up.
Yeah.
It's the same thing I used to tell my clients, especially the ones who had a difficult time communicating in English during the sessions. Like, okay, start half an hour before, 10 minutes before, 15, whatever you think will work for you, doing something in that language. And so, yeah, that I found that always helped me. So this is something that I did when I was actually attending Italian lessons. I had online lessons with a teacher, and half an hour before our lesson, that's what I would do. Start reading in Italian, listening to things in Italian. It's quite crazy. It might be difficult for people to understand this, but really, if you live in a city and you're a foreigner in that city, in a foreign country, of course,
you could potentially get away. My experience has been anyway. You could get away with not learning the local language. You really could.
Quick fire round, Ramps. Which one of these gives off more confidence on the first impression? Eye contact, posture, handshake, smiling, or vocal tone? In your opinion?
In my opinion,
Yes.
voice.
Vocal
Voice.
tone.
Vocal tone, yeah.
Yeah.
Quick fire round for you?
For me, smiling, definitely. It's the best way to make connection with somebody else. If someone isn't smiling, you know straight away they're either not happy or not confident about speaking to you, which is going to make the conversation more difficult. So you're already got your guard up against someone who isn't necessarily going to vibe with you.
It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes, I guess I would say voice, because sometimes you have the smile and then the person starts speaking and then it all changes. I think the voice has a huge, it can determine how you're perceived. It can determine how well interaction goes. Because beautiful smile. And then the person opened their mouth and then it's like, maybe you don't like the accent. You don't like the pitch or tone of the voice. That's why I'm saying I think voice, because that's when I feel like the voice is when you're much closer to an affirmed first impression.
Right.
Because at first glance, that impression is purely based on looks, which is a little bit unfair, right?
What's considered confident in one culture but could be rude in another?
Can I change the question?
Sure.
And say what could be considered different in what could be considered great in one generation and maybe not so much in a different generation. Sure, culture still plays a big factor, especially business culture, Italian business culture compared to German business culture, say, for example.
Right.
Nigerian business culture compared to South African business culture, for example. But I think the differences is probably more likely in the generations, because I was thinking about the quick fire question as well. If you ask the boomer, they'd probably say a handshake would be a good sign of confidence. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe the bigger differences are in the generations. What could be considered good in one generation, say, if you speak to a millennial or Gen X, saying no to something at work that you're not comfortable doing, that you're not happy doing, is viewed as great. You know how to stand up for yourself. Whereas the boomers would frown upon that because they come from a generation where you don't really say no at work.
Right.
You keep your head down.
Hard work never hurts anybody.
Exactly.
For example. Yeah, I heard that a lot growing up.
I've never heard of a man who listened his way out of a job, when you don't listen, for example.
What if I asked you the one about culture? Culture.
Well, I suppose you could look at the easy comparison to make would be Western, i.e. US or UK versus Eastern, Japan, Korea.
Yeah.
Because often confidence is extrovertedness in Western culture, whereas it's introvertedness in Asian culture, or less extroverted anyway, more formal.
Yeah.
I think that would be the obvious choice to make in terms of cultural confidence.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a great observation because most Westerners who say they are shy more often than not identify as introverts.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a pretty good observation. I'm thinking about it now. Most people I know who claim to be shy, and I say claim because I don't know if they really are, and most of them identify as introverts.
Yes, we do. Hello. Yeah.
That's a very great observation.
Yeah.
I
think there's a big difference between being insecure and introverted and being confident and introverted. There is definitely confident introvert. The confident introvert doesn't feel the need to say anything. They're able to just listen, and then when they need to speak, they do. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not avoiding speaking, but they don't feel the need to.